There's still some good movies, TVs. There's like 4 volumes of Holland. Shuffle discs with posters still in them. Need your fan service. Lots of yowing. All right, who have I not hit yet? Ish, right there.
This is more of a question of the industry at large. With Japan getting heavily invested again with, say, Kodansha repurchasing the licenses and purchasing Vertical, we've seen this start to happen earlier before with Bandai Visual USA or Toei USA, where they release a few volumes, realize it's not their expectation, and just take their ball and go home. Do you foresee this happening with the recent rush, or do you think that they're going to take a more immediate approach to it?
It's a different world from before, because before they were competing against everybody else. Now they're not really, they're competing against each other as they have before. They've picked up a lot more experience. Toei needed to go. They did a horrible job.
I agree.
It wasn't an expectations thing, it was a thing of like, oh, crap, we did that? Yeah, out the door they go. They just, but even then, Toei's the odd redheaded stepchild in the room. Because, it's like, look at how they do their simulcast stuff. They do 1 or 2, and then they pull it because something happened. Oh my God. The One Piece thing, which was bad, because they were getting ripped and so forth, but, our stuff was put out early, but then they freak out about everything. So they're kind of like the exception. But the other companies, Kodansha has been working here for years. They have their book publishing that they've done with Del Rey before all this other stuff happened. They've been invested in here. They've had stores and done things. The Vertical, that's kind of like a sideways deal to begin with. Ed, one of the marketing guy there, he was the one who worked with me in setting up our manga reviews when we first started doing them, when Tokyo Pop did their authentic side. So, I've talked with him a lot over the years about things. It's going to be a much more measured approach. Kodansha in particular, I don't really have any concerns about. Once we got past the opening round of expectations of how they're going to do things. It was because they were taking lots of titles that had existed from Tokyo Pop and said, we're taking them back. And then Del Rey was saying, we're not doing Kodansha titles anymore because Kodansha was going to do them. But we didn't know how Kodansha was going to do them because we only saw the Akira book, which was not a good example. But it looks like they're largely saying what Del Rey was doing was what we want to do. And that's a very good thing. So they know what they're doing. And they're using largely the same people to do translations and design. They always have the problem, and especially with manga, it's less of an issue with anime because it's usually so short, is that there's always going to be a chance the title's going to die because there's just not the support for it, especially long books. I was huge into Tokyo Pop when they came out, but then as their schedule changed, and I'm like, I'm never going to see the end of Initial D, I gave up on manga. It was unfortunate because there was a lot of stuff I was reading, but I was getting stacks like this every month, and then I realized they're never going to finish them. What are the chances of One Piece ever finishing anyway? This is like volume 53, and they're up to like 60 now, I think. So, there are going to be exceptions. One Piece will be published for a long time, but in the end, you're going to see this happening across all kinds of media. You're seeing it starting to happen a little bit overseas in Europe, where the U.S. Hollywood companies are starting to say, why am I doing it this way now? Because I have to release everything at the same time, otherwise I lose to piracy. And why am I spending 3, 4, 5 months a year doing licensing deals and going through all this? I just need to set up my own office and do it myself. So you're seeing the reverse of that happening here. Usually we don't because we're America. We give the world. But for anime and manga, it's different. And we're seeing the reverse side of it. And we're not quite sure what to expect. But I think largely we're going to be okay.
Like this lady here, I'm brand new.
Welcome.
Anime, so my question's probably going to seem really basic to everybody, but the numbers that you mentioned about what's considered a well-selling title and leaving 2,000 copies surprises me when I see how many people are at these cons. But if you could advise the marketing machines that might make this more popular, what would you tell them in order to garner more interest in the genre?
Well, they know basically to ignore all these people because most people that come to the conventions aren't buying. You will see people buying stuff in the dealer's room. They will pick up things there. They will get stuff online and everything. But by and large, people that come to conventions, from my view of it, I've been going to conventions for 13, 14 years now, is, especially for anime, it's different when you go to a comic book convention or you go to some of these other ones. Anime conventions are probably 75, depending on the con, to 90% social. You're here to cosplay, to go to panels, to go to raves, hang out with your friends that you know online from anime side, stuff that you've met in forums and so forth, and Twitter and whatnot, and to hang out for a weekend. And that's what it is. You go to the dealer's room. I mean, I walked around yesterday, the number of people I heard saying, well, this dealer's room is crap. But it's the same dealer's room at every convention because it's all the same companies going around the country. So they're not really here to buy. The only way to really start getting new eyeballs, and it's the problem that they're all having, is getting it onto TV. It's the only way to gain an audience. You can get some viral stuff going online and gain a little bit of share once in a while off of that, but a sustained large interest comes from Sailor Moon, Pokemon, Gundam Wing did it for a while, back in the 90s. There was some stuff on the Adult Swim at one point, so that got some, you know, like Big O. You know, you gotta have stuff on Cartoon Network. You gotta have stuff in front of the next generation of fans that are gonna come up and wanna get involved. And we're on the downside of the cycle right now because we had the big ones in the 90s that went up and up and up, and then we crashed because there was nothing there. And we're getting all the little titles that are building up again, but we don't have, they've been searching for the last 7, 8 years for the next big thing, and it hasn't been, but it hasn't come out of Japan yet either. So there's been nothing. And it's always going to be a kid's title too, because the bulk of what's, they said the market was worth something like $2 billion this year in the US, but they're not getting it out of these companies. They're getting it out of what's sold through Disney. What they classify as anime. Final Fantasy had a 3D video, CG game video movie. That's considered anime because it is. But that sold a couple 100,000 copies because it was selling to those fans. So that lifts the whole number. But what sells, for what people come here to sell, they're not selling all that much. But until we get it out in front of everybody, it's not going to go back to where it was. And it's never going to go back to where it was to some degree anyway. It's going to be a different beast from the last few years. So, stock up, new fan.
So, you know, dire industry issues aside, how awesome is it that 4 kids filed for bankruptcy?
Yeah, we covered that earlier. You were late.
It's her fault.
I don't know, bad. I don't say stuff.
I think that's a B question.
Yeah, yeah, I'll find something good for you. Actually, I know what I have for you. I was crying that day. It was tears of joy. I danced on their grave. I felt bad for the people that are losing their jobs because there are a lot of people that aren't involved in the act. And for the most part, they haven't done the really nasty work that they did in years because they were working on other shows and things. But it gets the monkey off the back. That can't be poked anymore. You can't keep going. 4 kids because they're gone. They're done.
All joking aside, how big an impact is that on the business?
Well, it's hard to say because if you go by their fudged numbers, they had so many legal issues about who's doing what. I don't know what to trust for what they actually made an impact on. I mean, they had Yu-Gi-Oh out on TV and they were doing some other stuff, but I don't think their stuff was drawing people into this side of it. So
More pure commercialism for
yeah, it was more, I mean,
family entertainment.
the trading card stuff and the other things they were doing. I don't think it had that big of a deal. I mean, you go down, you don't see trading cards out there anyway, which is really disappointing. I'll say that. I don't think there's any dealers in here, but there's a lot more parents involved now, as you know, but yours are older. My kids told me, get me stuff at the convention. I can't buy any Pokemon plushies for the most part because there's only a few. I can't get wall scrolls. I can't get all the stuff that my kids want. There's nothing down there. We're not making anything for the kids. We're all making moe crap. Yeah. And I like my moe crap, so don't get me wrong. I like a lot of it. But we're not making stuff to get the next fans in here. Now my kids are watching Cardcaptor Sakura, they're watching Pokemon, they're playing the games, they want more stuff, but I don't have anything to give them. You know, my daughter is 11 and she's reading Shoujo Beat, and I'm like, ah. She's like, I really like Nana. You know, the conversations I have to have with her are going to be a little bit earlier. But, you know, but there's nothing for them. I mean, really, if you go through and look at the dealer's room, it's like there's lots of stuff that we all like, and a lot of cool stuff. But, you know, and it's really sad because a lot of the people that work at the companies, they get it too. But a lot of the fans, you're like I am to some degree, and others, we come in here with our kids. They come up and cosplay and everything. and everything. But look at what they're going for. They're going for the costumes. They're going for some of the cute toys, plushie or two. They're not looking for shows because there's no shows. It's the thing of like, hey, we could go and look for X and get things related to that, you know, but there's nothing. So that's part of the other side of it too. And that's where the TV side comes back in, because what's put on TV is acceptable for kids. Because cartoons are still for kids. That's not going to change in this country for another generation or two.
It's the power of the Schwartz.
Right there.
All right, come on. Because the first thing you're getting is Ben 10 Alien Force. The last of the Tokyo Pop Opera. Oh, because of the attention. But you can still check.
I know you don't have to have your logos.
You gotta tweet nicely about me.
I already did.
Anybody else I have not gotten before I get to the next? The blue.
I know you just sort of brought this up a little bit. It's easier to get the kids when they're early. The parents will spend the money on all the plushies and the cards and all of that. But do you think there's a way to sort of get rid of the stigma that a lot of the Japanese anime is the Pokemon and the Yu-Gi-Oh! And the stuff for the little kids, and to get it more into the Speed Grabber and Trigun and Hellsing, all the stuff that has more mature content? I know I've had a roommate in the past who's been like, ew, what are you watching? And then she'd sit and watch SpongeBob for hours. And it's like, really? Mine has a plot, it has character development, like there's stuff going on here. And a lot of people either see the Pokemon or they see the hentai. And is there a way to find that middle ground for more of the public?
It's just getting it out there and talking about it. I always hesitate to say that the stuff we watch is more mature, because I watch what I'm watching and I know it's... Yeah, and it's like, Trigun's a great show, but then you watch some of it and it's like, well, yeah, it's not SpongeBob and it's not, Looney Tunes, and it's not hentai, it's not Pokemon, but it's not mature. It's fun though, but there's good stuff. And there's serious stories, there's plots, they deal with things. But the thing is, when they actually do get to these more mature things, the really interesting storylines, the josei kind of material, like Princess Jellyfish was a good one. But when you get to the stuff that's got the real meat to it, the stuff that you want to share, you get stuff like Koikaze, where it's all about incest or stuff, because they actually cover mature subjects respectfully. And that's not going to fly. It's not going to fly here. It'll change. It's going to it's going to take another 25-year generation before it starts to really change. Because you look at how it's gone in the years. The kids that grew up in the 80s that are making movies and TVs today grew up on anime, because they all cite Miyazaki as a big influence. They grew up on the Star Blazers, the Robotech, and they got that. And they're making shows that are cartoons and live action that's more mature than what we had before. You get your fair share of schlock and crap, because kids need that too. We don't want to deny them that, because we had our schlock and crap. I mean, Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo. I'm still watching Scooby-Doo. But, we don't have a Pink Panther for kids today for the most part. What? Great babe. But TV is changing, because you've got stuff like Young Justice out there, the direct-to-video superheroes. The superheroes is what's going to start changing a lot of the perspective, because comic books won't be cool again, but there'll be more people getting it. It's getting respect. But now, as we have all these people that have grown up in the 90s and as the next 10, 15 years, as they get into media and start making movies and TV, they're going to say, I grew up on Evangelion. I'm making a show for Cartoon Network with that as my influence. Or I'm making a TV series or something. And it's going to bring it up, because they're going to raise their kids. It'll take time, just like everything else. But another full 25 years, it'll still have the stigma to some degree, because culturally we are so fractured that to change something on a national level is impossible. Unless it's like a pop star, giving birth on screen or something. That we're looking right there. But cartoons for kids is not going to change in the next 100 years unless we have a radical shift in who we are. It's always going to be that. I mean, we're still fighting the Civil War for a lot of places around here. So that kind of cartoons will be cartoons, because there will always be the stuff just for kids.